It's Viewpoints on the talk station, FM 107.1. I'm looking forward to today's conversation. As a matter of fact, we're setting it up right now, and I really appreciate our guest taking the time to join us as we begin the program here on the talk station. I just want to remind you, coming to you live from the studios of Advanced Water Systems, the people that bring you Connecticut, folks that are doing an outstanding job of providing quality service and quality products. But I'll give you the details on that in a little later on in the program. As always, the number 252 area code 222-4848, 222-4848. Today's program, we're going to kind of interrupt some things that we normally do, go straight into our conversation. We have joining us this afternoon. Well, I'm excited about this. We've got Michael Whatley joining us, and I'm cautious about how I introduce him because officially he hasn't filled out any forms, and so at this point I don't anticipate that he is the candidate. Well, he's also got to go through the process of the primaries, if there is a primary for the Republican Party from the senatorial race. But we do have joining us this afternoon, now retired, that's the best description of him, now retired chairman of the Republican National Committee and former chairman of the North Carolina GOP. And with that, good afternoon to you, Michael. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the program.
It's great to be on with you, Lockwood.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and I really do appreciate this very, very much. I know that it's been a busy month for you, and welcome to the program. So much to talk to you about, and I'm going to focus on the activities over the past couple of months, but also the condition of the Republican Party, which you have, according to my sources, left in excellent, congratulations, condition. So welcome to the program.
Well, it's really great to be on, and it is very exciting. When President Trump called and asked me to step down from the RNC and get into the Senate race, it was one of those kind of inflection points for you. And he was very funny. He said, I'm sitting here with the Vice President and Senator John Thune, and we were talking about the Senate races, and the only one we really agree on is that you're gonna run in North Carolina, and you're gonna win, and you're gonna do a great job. So congratulations. Can you announce tomorrow? And I said, well, I'm really excited about this. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. We got a little bit of work to do before we can actually announce that we're going to run. He said, okay, I understand that. How about by the end of the week? And I said, okay, well, we'll make it work. We'll get it scheduled. We'll get it done. And, the outpouring that we have received in terms of support, from the grassroots, from the donors, from people all across the country, people all across North Carolina, has just been absolutely fantastic. President Trump called and asked me to be the chair of the RNC.
Right.
For the 24 election cycle. It was a very similar conversation. Where somebody asked me once, they said, what's it like when the president asks you to do this? I said, I don't know. He hasn't asked. He just lets me know this is what we're going to do. And but. When he, makes that call, it's great because the entire apparatus is behind you. The entire support infrastructure is there. And, his faith is there. His belief that we can actually step in and win this race because we have to hold this seat in North Carolina. I think it's a must win for us to keep, the country, with a Republican Senate. It's a must-win for us, in terms of North Carolina, because ultimately this race is about a vote, right? It's about a vote for President Trump and his agenda versus votes that are going to be cast if Roy Cooper were to win, that are going to be for, New York and San Francisco and Chicago values that are not North Carolina values. We do not need, a liberal who's going to be voting against President Trump's agenda in the Senate.
Let's talk here for a moment about the impending race, and of course we're talking with Michael Whatley. I appreciate him taking the time to be with us. And Michael, I'm going to describe you as now the retired. Use the word retired former chairman of the North Carolina GOP and former chairman of the Republican National Committee, and now positioning himself as candidate, senatorial candidate for Republican nomination for the North Carolina race. Let's talk here for a moment about the other presumed candidate being Roy Cooper. Not only and I'm going to get into the issue of the Democrat Party writ large, because I think that's a bigger, I think that's a bigger story. I know that the individuals in the race are big, and I commend you on your being voluntold, by the way. I like that. The president and the vice president were sitting there, and they were confident with you and decided on your name. And the president said, "So make the announcement tomorrow." Obviously, it wasn't a matter of, "Oh, by the way, how would you be interested in running for U.S. Senate?" But that's a real compliment to you, Michael. A major compliment, and congratulations on that. That you have the confidence of this administration, the president, the vice president, and so many others. But the other aspect of that is former Governor Roy Cooper. He has, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, with many of his years of experience running for public office, but particularly the 8 years as governor, he has some negatives. The way he handled HB2, the bathroom bill, renowned bathroom bill, the way he handled, and by the way, Washington Post even made note of the fact that that's a topic that he would like to avoid. And then also the way he handled COVID in North Carolina, both with closure of businesses and schools, and particularly small businesses. He left the big box stores open. It strikes me that's a major issue for your opponent, is it not?
It really is. I think that this election is going to really come down to a question of competence and values.
Right.
And, in terms of his competence, I think you nailed it in terms of a conversation on COVID. You can go back into his tenure as the Attorney General and look at the rape kit issue that went on and on and on. But ultimately, the biggest issue that we're going to talk about with a competence question is his handling of the hurricanes. And his failure to get on board or get on with helping North Carolinians get back into their homes, whether it's on the East Coast or on the West Coast, certainly with Helene, catastrophic failure of response from both Joe Biden and Roy Cooper left, hundreds of North Carolinians, thousands of North Carolinians homeless. Right. 73,000 homes were damaged, 45,000 small businesses were damaged, and the governor was nowhere to be found. And when I brought the president into Western North Carolina during the campaign, and then for his very first trip as president, when we flew down to Swannanoa, he was so shocked at the failures of both the Cooper administration and the Biden administration that he asked me to help make sure that the relief we were going to get into North Carolina is very, very real. And so we're seeing a lot of improved processes, and the president has asked me to serve on the FEMA Review Council to make sure that the federal response is never that bad again. But we've got to have a conversation about North Carolina's response there. When we talk about values, as you mentioned it, it's about his votes and his vetoes. This is a guy who vetoed 3 different bills to keep boys out of girls' sports. We are going to talk about that. He's vetoed bills to keep, violent criminal illegal aliens in North Carolina. And he has vetoed, 6 different tax cuts and 6 different bills that would balance the budget and give teachers pay raises. So, he has a record that we are very eager to talk about in terms of Roy Cooper. And I think that what we want to do in this election cycle throughout the next 16 months is really have a conversation about this Senate seat and what it's going to mean in terms of the Senate majority and what it's going to mean in terms of the agenda that we're working on right now with President Trump.
We're talking with Michael Whatley, and I really appreciate him taking the time to be with us this afternoon. We're not going to keep him too much longer, about a few more minutes, because he has another commitment. By the way, you mentioned FEMA and the FEMA Review Council. if I'm not mistaken, you've been involved actively in some meetings recently. How is that going for North Carolina and in FEMA in general? What's your observation?
Well, I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get FEMA, into a position, whether we're going to dismantle it and create a new entity, or we're just going to have fundamental reforms at the agency, is something that we're still working through. But, we need to make sure that FEMA's there. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, because of the work that I've been doing, as well as, Senator Budd and Representative, Chuck Edwards and others, we've seen $170 million that's been released by FEMA at the orders of Kristi Noem, who's doing a great job as our Secretary of Homeland Security. We're going to, we have seen, $2.8 billion in relief that has been released into the state since President Trump took over. So President's been very clear. We are not going to forget North Carolina. We're going to continue to be there and make sure that this is a state that's going to be able to rebuild. And I'm very excited to play a part in that.
Michael, I want to talk now, if we could, for a few moments about the broader aspect. And, of course, the announcement earlier today that Representative Jerry Nadler is going to be stepping down. He's retiring. And I'm curious about the influence and impact of the particular race in New York. And I want to talk about this in relationship to the broader aspects of the two parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, and particularly the Democrat Party with Zohran Mamdani, and the fact that he's a noted socialist, but he's leading exponentially in a race that the Democrats seem to have turned their back on. And I'm wondering what's happening in the Democrat Party. You've been working there with the Republican Party, with the RNC. You've been watching this. I'm confident that you've been watching some things that the general public doesn't see. What's going on, and what is this going to do for the upcoming midterm elections?
Sure. Well, the Democratic Party has learned nothing, absolutely nothing, from losing in 2024. They are doubling down right now on the same failed policies that they ran on and they lost on last year. Roy Cooper, Zohran Mamdani, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Bernie Sanders. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of folks that have walked so far to the left. They have lost sight of Main Street. They are out there right now fighting harder to keep violent criminal illegal aliens in the United States. They are fighting harder to have boys and girls sports and woke indoctrination in public schools. They're fighting harder for taxes. And as long as that is going to be the positioning of the Democratic Party, and Roy Cooper is the leader of that party here in North Carolina, and it's open borders, inflationary spending, and a weak America, then they are going to continue to lose, because that's not where the people of North Carolina are. It's not where the people of America are. We want to see strong borders. We want to see a thriving economy. We want to make sure that America is going to be respected around the world, and that, our troops, our men and women in uniform, have what they need to protect our interests and allies around the world. Those are the fundamentals that elections come down to, and the Democrats are on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue that you can find right now.
Well, the other aspect of this, and again, our guest, Michael Whatley, for a few more moments here on Viewpoints, and again, appreciate his time this afternoon. Michael, we've been seeing a decline in Democrat registration, and definitely declining here in North Carolina. That is, I'm thinking that what we're seeing in other regions of the country are beginning to filter over into North Carolina, and that this is now a situation where North Carolinians don't feel that there's any other source right now, and also we've got to give credit to the president. He has been the most active president, as I've got to ask you a question about that one too, I have ever in my life seen, and I've been around for a few years at least. This has been an amazing tour for a president. Granted, it's his second go around, and he knows the weak spots and has definitely been tackling them. But it strikes me that this midterm election is really truly a binary election. You either want to see the country improve or you don't. Am I thinking correctly in that regard?
You are absolutely correct. And the president has had, the most transformational term since at least Ronald Reagan's first term back in 1981 through 84, if not even beyond that. And you are right. At the end of the day, this Senate race in North Carolina is all about whether you support President Trump and the America First agenda or whether you're going to side with, Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer and the Democratic ideals from New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. And it's amazing to me. You see a bill like the Big Beautiful Bill that is going that put in place, the Trump tax cut for the middle class permanently extended. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. And Roy Cooper said, I would have voted against that bill. That bill which had energy security, border security, and national security provisions, very, very important. And Roy Cooper said, I would have voted against that bill. He's voting against the interests of North Carolina. He's voted against the people of this great state. I am going to support that agenda. I am going to support President Trump. I am thrilled to be, the candidate who has his full and complete endorsement. And I'm very excited about the opportunity that we're going to have as a senator to make sure that in every single vote that I cast, we're putting North Carolina first.
I opened the program, and I'm going to close it with you, Michael, with a comment about the success that you had as RNC chairman and the fact that it's obvious right now, both from the perspective of the number of registrations that are happening on behalf of the Republican Party, the decline of the Democrat Party, but also the issue of finances. The Republican Party at one point, some 8 years ago, was in financial distress. You're leaving behind a very successful program. Give us, if you will, your opinion of your past year and a half. You've only done this in a year and a half, roughly. Your thoughts about that. And by the way, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited. And, we did make sure that we focused on the fundamentals, right? Every dollar that we raised and we spent was going to be spent on winning elections. Every project, every program that we had went through a very, one-sided type question, which is, does this program help us win? And if not, it went away. And so, we were able to raise money that we needed. We still got outspent by $1 billion,
right.
From Kamala Harris. Yet we were able to win because we had a better candidate. We ran a better race, but we had the financial wherewithal because of our competence, because we were running to really truly set ourselves up to win. As we're looking at winning the Senate race right now, we're going to need to raise money. There's no question about it. The Democrats will have a ton of money. They always have a ton of money. But the fundamentals matter. And the fundamentals in this election are going to come down to, you're going to have enough money to put a message out there, but the message matters. And the message is going to be very simple, which is, I am a kid who grew up in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, who managed to, put myself through college, create a great career, marry a great woman, raise a great family, and the opportunities that North Carolina are the opportunities that I'm going to fight for. I do not have values of a true blue progressive woke liberal like Roy Cooper. I'm going to fight for every community. I'm going to fight for every family across this great state. And I think it's just a fantastic opportunity for the president to give me a call and ask me to get into this race, give me his complete and total endorsement. And I really look forward to winning this race and representing this great state.
What a great compliment to you. What a great compliment to North Carolina. And congratulations. I want to thank you for your time. I know you have a lot to do today. Our guest, and I want to thank him for her time as we hang up with him. I know I'm going to let him go right on to his next appointment. That's Michael Whatley, formerly the North Carolina GOP chairman and now formerly RNC chairman. And, odds on, he is our candidate for, North Carolina's candidate. Let's make that firm. North Carolina's candidate for Republican nomination for Senate. More to come here on Viewpoints.